Thank you, Mayor. We're going to start with Craig Delmore, WBBM, and then we'll shift the mic towards that direction to your right.
All right. So we're going from right to left in the room. Craig,
so
go
I'm
ahead.
on the right now. But thank you, Mayor. Can you give us a sense of what the public safety budget is going to look like, since it is a subject of that much interest because of what's been happening? Is the police department going to get more money? And in connection with that, the idea of shifting some of the things that police have to handle to mental health professionals, what is that going to look like in this new budget?
Well, you've asked a number of questions. Let me see if I can take them one at a time. First and foremost, the work of diverting certain calls for service to other providers already started. You'll recall that in the budget for 2021, we launched two concepts that are being piloted. One is a co-responder model that matches up the police with social service providers, particularly mental health calls, where I think we all believe that the clinicians should be the lead, but with some police support. Also included in the 2021 budget is another kind of alternative response that has clinicians and experts, particularly in mental health and opioid calls, being the front and center of that without any police assistance. That work is ongoing. It's being led by the Chicago Department of Public Health. So we'll have a lot of data and information from those pilots that will certainly inform that work. But it's certainly my hope and intention that the City Council will agree with me that we need to keep funding those alternatives. You've asked the question about the public safety budget, which I take to mean the police department budget. So with that understanding, yes, it's my expectation that the police department budget will increase. No question. We have to. We have to make sure that we are continuing to provide resources to recruit the next generation of police officers, and in particular make sure that we're doing that recruitment in a way that reflects the diversity of our city. So I expect that the police department itself will recommend a more fulsome recruiting process and team of permanent officers that go across the country to recruit the best and the brightest talent, in addition to making sure that we mine the opportunities here in Chicago for talent. We haven't done that before, but we will do that, and that will be part of the proposal. We also need to do more, and I think this very difficult week has told us that we need to do a lot more to increase the resources devoted to the health and wellness of our police officers. We increased the number of clinicians that work with our officers from a paltry 3 to over 13. But it's very clear that more needs to be done. I've seen some preliminary ideas from the superintendent and his team, and we need to flesh those out. But I think overall, I will present a budget to the City Council that increases resources targeted and strategic for the police department, because those needs are absolutely there.
Hi, good morning. Along the same vein, I did want to ask
I'm just going to ask you to speak up a little bit.
Sorry about that.
Go ahead.
Along the same vein, I wanted to ask about the ShotSpotter contract. As you know, there was a very critical study back in the spring, followed by some rallies, some protests asking for the city to cancel its contract with ShotSpotter. I know when we asked you about it, I think in May, you said you thought it was a beneficial technology, but it should be discussed, that there was room for some discussion. Fast forward to now, the original contract was slated to expire in just a few days, but we're learning that it actually had been extended back in December at the request of the Chicago Police Department. So now it won't expire for another 2 years. I didn't know if you could comment, did you know that it won't expire for another 2 years? Do you still think there's room for discussion, and what goes from here?
Well, you may or may not know this about me, but I'm an old procurement geek at heart. I spent a lot of time, and continue to as mayor, looking at our contracts, making sure that we're getting the benefit of our bargain, and really holding the departments in our Department of Procurement Services accountable so that we don't just let contracts and then they roll on and on without any real oversight. So the ShotSpotter contract obviously is one, it's a large contract, it's one that's important, but here's what I know based upon the diligence that we've done to date and more to come. ShotSpotter, when it works, is a game changer. Just think about what our technology and our abilities were prior to ShotSpotter, which meant we were wholly reliant upon calls for service to let us know when there was a shooting that had occurred in one area or another. What ShotSpotter allows us to do with the camera technology that we now have across the city is not only to know that a shot has happened, but be able to pinpoint it and direct resources to the exact site of the shots. I will tell you that has saved lives. That has allowed us to find individuals who are wreaking havoc in neighborhoods, to identify cars where those individuals are shooting from. So there has been an enormous exponential benefit from pairing that ShotSpotter technology with our camera system. ShotSpotter alone isn't enough. I get this question a lot from mayors across the country who want to understand what our experience has been. But nonetheless, we still have to hold them accountable. And we need to make sure that the technology is working. That is the charge that I've given to the superintendent and the others who are responsible for that contract. So we're going to hold them accountable. We don't just, we have to get away from the days where we sign up for a contract and hope for the best, but don't scrutinize whether or not we were actually getting the benefit of our bargain. We have to change that mindset around entirely, whether it's ShotSpotter or whether it's office supplies. Our taxpayer dollars have to be spent in an appropriate way, and we've got to make sure that we are being diligent on these contracts, particularly contracts that have big dollar values and where life and death and public safety is involved. Okay. No other question?